Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome to Adventures in History. Today's topic is Dearest Mother and Dad. Love, Ruth, John, Mark, Pamela, Patricia, and Peter. 1967, Part 149. 20689 Beechcliff Boulevard, Rocky River, Ohio. May 1st, 1967. Dear Mother and Dad, I feel as though I could and should write almost a book to you of all our experiences since we last wrote. We feel as though we've been in another world, a glimpse of paradise here on earth. I felt that God must truly love us to have led us to such a beautiful spot. Of course, at times I also thought that maybe He led me there to my doom, for I did have some wild experiences. I feel very grateful to you, Mother, for inculcating in me a sense of duty to God, for so many things that I have a sense of satisfaction for stem from things that I haven't really wanted to do, but because I thought I should. Service to others is the rent we pay for being here on earth. As you've probably noticed by my lack of letters, this has really been a busy year as PTA president, and I feel as though I've been holding my breath. But it has been worthwhile and successful. The year I was president of the Junior Chamber Auxiliary, we went through a big segregation issue. And the year I was president of the Nature and Science Center Women's Board, we went through a big issue about not having an architect and not putting the addition out for bids, so I wondered what would happen. John predicted the first Negro family would move into Rocky River, and this may happen yet. The year is not yet over. We did have quite a discussion about this with our superintendent at convention, at my instigation, for I feel that dialogue should prepare people for this inevitable event. Last January or February, I was blessed in having a marvelous experience while taking Holy Communion. I also got the idea to invite David Garrett down to the Bahamas with us while praying in church the Sunday before we left. We had invited John's folks, and they said they are retiring next year and would like to come down in 1969. Of course, our philosophy has always been to do things now. Tomorrow might not come. We invited Helen Lacey, and she didn't feel she could afford the extra $100 to charter the seaplane back to Nassau, since she would have to leave early. We invited Mark's friend Jeff Premian from Scarsdale, New York, and they didn't think he could miss school, and we invited you both. David Garrett is 5 years old, John's godson, and not in school. He's very bright, a cute boy, but very undisciplined. Ann White had said he needed a firm hand on his bottom. When I suggested David come while we were in church, Marilyn was crying. I suggested she come also. Her left leg is about useless now, and the multiple sclerosis is spreading. Her husband, Dick Garrett, thought he'd like to come, and their daughter also. So David went with us, and the rest of the family came down the last week. It made it an awful lot of people and almost too much for me. I tried not to, but I did blow up once. You know me. John was finding it difficult also. David, being so undisciplined, was interesting, but we were afraid he'd kill himself. So John applied a firm hand, and I did, and after 3 weeks, John had him in pretty good shape. Maybe you'd think we are too strict with our children. The cook marveled at how we treated him as our own. David never once exhibited any homesickness. I asked him regularly if he was ready to go home, and he never was. Even last Friday, I asked him if he'd like to go back, and he said that he would. I think children need and want discipline, and John told Marilyn that, and so did I. He reverted when his folks came. We taught the little boys to snorkel, too, and John and I managed to get Marilyn snorkeling. They hope to go back next year and would like to overlap with us, but we're not too sure. Even though we had a cook with 10 people, I ended up doing an awful lot of it, too. John has asked if we can rent the house for the last week of March and first 3 weeks of April next year. Mark doesn't think that he will be able to stay a month since he'll be in high school. I had lunch with the junior high principal today at the North Lake District Conference, and he still thinks the experience outweighs the time in school and is in favor of it. We plan to make our plane reservations in September. We almost phoned you last week. We had reservations in Montreal for the week after school was out and wanted to tie it in with seeing you off for England if you stopped in Montreal. However, Mark has a Boy Scout camp that weekend, so we changed the reservations and will be in Montreal the week of the 19th of June. We thought Bud might be here that weekend also. Maybe if Bud and Doris are in Montreal in August, they can visit us in Michigan on the way there or back. It's not far from the Sioux. The island in the Bahamas was 165 acres. The multi-millionaire Will C. Grant, who owned it, and his wife were there for a few days and had us for cocktails, and we had them over. As I was preparing for them, I thought, here we come to a little island and thought we'd be alone and were entertaining a millionaire. They were most gracious. They had chartered a boat from Nassau at $80 a day, and when they left, we had it for a couple of days. The first day we caught 31 dolphin fish. The sea was green with them. The captain had never seen anything like it in his 20 years on the sea. He thought we were so lucky that he asked us to go out the next day. The cook baked 6 huge loaves of bread, so it was like the loaves and the fishes. The next day, John and Mark caught 29 dolphin and 3 tuna. Each fish ran 15 to 30 pounds. It was miraculous. We had several barracuda experiences. One day we all went in 2 boats to another little island that John is trying to buy. We were shelling and picnicking, and John, Dick, and I went snorkeling along one side. John speared a lobster and took it back to the boat. Soon Dick thought he'd better turn back, and I decided to swim around the island. It was against our own rules, for we'd decided never to swim alone. I soon realized I was in deep ocean and saw a huge fish, but I continued, and then I saw it, the barracuda about 15 to 20 feet away. I thought, maybe he hasn't seen me, so I headed to shore, and he turned in behind me. I went straight in to a sheer coral cliff. I thought I could never make it up, but I looked back, and he was about 6 feet away, and I'll never know how I did it, but I went up. Eventually, my hero, John, came in a boat to rescue me. I picked my way over rocky coral in the blazing sun, but I was sure glad I was on the shore. A barracuda had previously followed the boat. Twice later, as we snorkeled, one came along. John was in the water, and a 4.5-footer came after him, and he got back in the boat. It stalked us for about an hour. Then the last day, I wanted underwater movies of John. We had them of everyone else. So Dick started taking some. We went over the side of the boat. As a precaution, I went in to watch for barracuda, and suddenly there was one below me. I came up and called, "Barracuda," and we swam to the boat. Dick gave John the camera, and John took movies of it, and as it headed toward him, he joined us in the boat with a mighty heave. I had a big dinner party before we left, 16 folks, and hoped to have another. We brought 20 frozen dolphin fish back. Nan had a birthday party for her mother, Mrs. Nielsen, Friday night. I took her one of those glass balls that I bought. I found 2 this year on the beach and a big one, so I'm thrilled. We had our Easter egg hunt, also the cook's children, Steve and Merthelda Cox's children, and John conducted our Easter and Sunday services. We all showed our movies and slides. There were 26 folks who went to Hopetown this year. Everyone wants to try our new island, but we're trying. We'd like it not to be so popular, for we might not be able to get it for ourselves sometime. This area is more beautiful in the Sea Park. Gorgeous. The Exumas Land and Sea Park. As soon as we returned, Nan Gregory had a big sign on the front door, "Welcome home, Bahamian natives," and had butter, eggs, bread, and milk for us in the kitchen. How thoughtful. My big PTA installation luncheon was a week after we returned. It was at Westwood Country Club this year and very nice. I invited Char McQuilkin. I'd have invited John's mother if I'd known it was going to be so successful. The day after we returned, I had to attend one at Westwood Country Club for the high school, so I'm a council delegate for it also, and program chairman for the junior high school. So all 3 PTAs, a real career. And Char wants me to do some artwork. I'm thrilled about your success in selling your plates. I'm sure I could here also, but would rather buy some for the girls to have. Nan's mother said, "My, but you have a wonderful husband, dear. He's really special." He is, too. And that's what made it such a wonderful vacation. John really blooms, and we just had a marvelous month with our whole family. Peter even swam nude and got his bottom sunburned. David decided he wanted to marry Patty and take her home with him. Pamela is turning into a wonderful young lady. She has worked so hard at catching up and has 5 A's and 3 B's in school. She worked all the time we were there, too, and got A+ on her reports. John worked with her. She also did some fine paintings. Patty got all A+ in a super perfect report card. Mark's tests are not all complete. We're going to school Thursday with the underwater movies and shell collections. John says he lives in the islands now, the Bahamas. He just comes up here in between time. I hope your trip comes through and is as successful for you. It was 80 degrees when we arrived home, and the dogwood were out. The forsythia and pansies. Lovely. Love, Ruth. And here's a letter from Peter, May 1967. Dear Mommy, my birthday is on Saturday. We will play games with Pam and Patty. We will play inside if it is raining, and we will play outside if it is sunny. Happy birthday, Peter. 20689 Beechcliff Boulevard, Rocky River, Ohio, May 30th, 1967. Dear Mother and Dad, we're very happy for you that your planned trip is becoming a reality, and we do hope that it lives up to all your expectations. I had thought you might refuel in Montreal, and we'd love to see you off, but we won't make it to Greenland. We go up to Montreal, Canada on the 19th, and you'll be in England then. I'll be happy to send the stole. I should have given it to you when you were here, for I doubt if I'd worn it since. It wouldn't matter if you lost it to me, and you could have it. The only thing I'd ever use it for would be Pamela for high school dances someday, but she might not want to. However, I phoned the Canadian consulate to see if there would be duty, and he said 47%. If I valued it at $10, they might revalue it in Regina. If I just loaned it to you, you might have to post bond at 40% of value until it was returned. I'd be happy to send it and take a chance, but hate to see you stuck with a lot of duty. I doubt if Bud would be willing to take it up. Too bad we don't know a woman who could carry it over for me. I have a lot of cute dresses Patty has outgrown for Janet, and I'm tempted to pack a parcel and slip it in, but we'll wait until I hear from you. It isn't worth much, but might be nice for you to slip over your shoulders. They had a sale on mixed stoles here last week, and I would have loved to have bought you one, so if you see one you like up there, maybe you could get one, and I'd send you the money. They had small sizes for only $139. However, I didn't see them, so don't know. Maybe I could get a furrier to value this low to satisfy customs. Let me know. The dogwood are still out, pink dogwood. John's folks were over for the orchestra concert. Mark has a new $450 violin. My PTA board gave me a gold disc charm and gavel, and we had teachers for lunch. Luncheons, 3 next week. Busy time. Love, Ruth. Now the next letters were originally published in the first part of Small Chef Family Memories Collection, or SFMC number 68, published on August 10, 2001. 20689 Beechcliff Boulevard, Rocky River, Ohio, June 12, 1967. Dear Mother and Dad, Bon voyage, and we hope you have a wonderful trip and it is all you plan. After your first letter to send the stole, I mailed it immediately. Last Tuesday, June 6, with a few things for Janet. Then I received your letter not to send it as Dad and Bud think it unnecessary, but men don't understand. If they do put too much duty on it, you could send it back and buy yourself a mink stole there. We saw Bud off last night. He arrived Friday at 5:45, so was here over 48 hours. We enjoyed seeing him and had a birthday cake yesterday. Friday night we saw his slides and movies, and he saw ours, and we talked on the porch. Mark cooked steaks out on the hibachi, and we ate outdoors. Saturday was Pat Stevens' wedding and reception for almost 500 folks at the athletic club. Bud wouldn't go with us, but played croquet with the children. Saturday night we missed the Stevens party after the reception and went to the Oberlin Illumination and saw Helen Lacey. She's going to England in July and then Majorca, Spain, to paint for 3 weeks with a group of artists. Your plates arrived fine and are so lovely. It must be a thrill to have such a demand for them. I'm sure I could at the Nature Center gift shop if you want to make it a career. But Bud went with us to our 20th church communion and dinner. We all took communion together. Pamela with her godfather, Uncle Bud. We hope Bud and his family can visit us on their trip to Montreal, but imagine they will be tired of driving. We leave Monday morning for Montreal, Expo 67. Helen is visiting Marge and Harold Freilich in England. I had a letter from Barbara Smith inviting us to use their house next weekend. They are going to visit Marge and Harold too. I'll enclose their letters and Marge and Harold's address in case you are nearby and might like to visit them in England. I'm sure they'd be happy to see you. We hope to have a family reunion for them when they return. This year we hope to have one the first week in July when Dick and Joan come. I had what I thought was a brilliant idea to send the stole with Barb and Bill Smith since they are going to England, but John thought it too much to ask them to take it and make arrangements to get it to you. Do send us your address where you'll be in England. Marge and Harold are in Warwickshire, 35 St. Andrews Road, Lillington, Royal Leamington Spa, Warwickshire, England. We might have their son Terry up to visit this summer, and of course you know Barb and Bill. Barbara is Harold's sister. Aunt Mary was their mother, and Mary was John's mother's sister. We're having it hot now. The heat arrived with Bud, so the idea I had of going to Montreal on a cruise seems better all the time. I'll send the other dresses for Janet when you get back. I wished Bud had taken more, but he only took 2, the matching sundress of the new one I sent for Joan. He seemed to think these would be too small for Janet, but girls wear them short now. Your gift for Pamela arrived. She'll spend her birthday driving to Montreal. Say hello to Jenny and Ben and Paul for us. Have a wonderful time. Love, Ruth, John, Mark, Pamela, Patty, and Peter. P.S. I'll write to Harold and Marge Freilich and tell them you'll be in England in case you're near. Have a safe, happy trip. 20689 Beechcliff Boulevard, Rocky River, Ohio, Wednesday, August 2nd, 1967. Dearest Mother and Dad, welcome home. We hope that you had a marvelous trip. We just got a card today from Brighton. We passed through it on our trip down from Scotland and after driving through the Windermere Lakes area, but John and Wayne Duff didn't like the looks of it. Looked like Coney Island, so we skipped it. We got your letter from Jeannie's. I'd have written you there, but had no idea you'd planned to stay there. You'd mentioned getting an apartment. Barb and Bill Smith and Helen Lacey were all at Harold and Marge's in Coventry, so expect we had more relatives in England than here this summer. Bud and Doris will be off on their big trip. Hope they can visit us too. We had a marvelous trip to Expo 67. It was really a wonderful experience, a monumental effort and so well organized and clean. Their new metro was amazing, moved thousands in minutes and very pretty too. We used it every day. We had a lovely new 3-bedroom ground floor apartment with swimming pool outside the door and managed to visit Bonnie in her lovely new home. We had an invitation for Saturday to Ruth Nilsson's daughter's wedding in Sudbury, but couldn't get John interested. We visited Niagara Falls on the way back, and Mark also visited on his way back from his canoe trip up in the Algonquin Lakes. Pamela had a marvelous backpacking 2-week hike with the Girl Scouts through the Johnny Appleseed Trail. Peter enjoyed the nature center and swimming lessons, but has a broken collarbone now. Mark is caddy at Westwood Country Club, will get $5 a bag and wants his own golf clubs now. John's dad is coming over on his vacation to play golf with Mark. We went down, took the children to hear Mancini at the Pops concert. Pamela is getting a new cello. Mark has a lovely new violin. Patty is playing pieces from My Fair Lady on the piano now. We had a turkey dinner for 16 of John's family on July 5th and had a bridal luncheon for 18 folks for Sue, Ann White's daughter. Shar is having our family for a picnic and band concert Sunday, and our neighbors are having a party Saturday. I'm writing Elsie again to see if she can visit us. She had another fall. This has been the most beautiful summer I can ever remember. Helen was painting on the island of Majorca, Spain. I bought you a green fluffy bathing cap back in June, so I'll try to mail it to you. I'm glad the stole came in handy. You can keep it. Maybe you can trade it in on a jacket for colder weather. I've really enjoyed the mink jacket John got me. John is so busy. They are expanding the offices. Dick and Isabel Stevens are in Hawaii. We'd like to get away again before school starts. We're going to Lakeside, Ohio for a week on the 30th of August. Hope your trip was perfect. Love, Ruth. 20689 Beechcliff Boulevard, Rocky River, Ohio, August 10th, 1967. Dear Mother and Dad, I was very happy to hear that you had a safe return and lovely trip and that Bud and Doris are off on theirs. I doubt if they'll make it to Cleveland or Lakeside. They'd probably prefer to go on home. We're going to Lakeside August 30th, Wednesday, for a week. We have 10 double beds there, so lots of room. Tonight was Rocky River Day, a parade this afternoon. Shar and her children came for it. Our float was Snoopy on top of his house on top of a canoe. Tippy Canoe and Snoopy too. Pamela's title. It won an award, but not first. Then the McQuilkins came here for supper, 13 of us in our Bahama movies. The fireworks will be on Monday, but John and Mark will be at Boy Scout camp, and we visit them that night. Did I tell you Peter fractured his collarbone? Mark fractured both wrists. He was playing basketball Sunday a week ago and fell while waiting to caddy at Westwood Country Club. He wanted to come home, but they asked him to wait, and he caddied 18 holes. Then after dinner he was in such pain we took him to the hospital for x-rays. They said he was okay, and not until Friday did our doctor look at the x-rays and he discovered the fractures. They said at the country club that he has workman's compensation. Saturday night we went to a lovely party at one of our neighbors, and Sunday to a lovely picnic and band concert at Shar and Don McQuilkins with all the children. Ann White's has invited me to a luncheon tomorrow. Mark and I bought 2 new televisions, one for his room now that he can't caddy or do much. It has the educational TV station on it and has very good programs. Did you know the Charlie Brown comic strip has theological meanings? John's other great-aunt died in California and left her estate to John, but most of it is gone with hospital bills. We do love Peter, and he's a happy child. Love, Ruth. Southampton, Ontario, Canada, August 25th, 1967. Dear Mother and Dad, well, we finally made it to Canada for another week. Had hoped to see Bud and Doris and their family en route home. I managed to get in swimming today. Cold, but fine once you get used to it and clear. Peter is like a little polar bear and out in it all the time. Tonight I was wiping Patty's mouth, chocolate icing from the cake Pamela made, and her tooth fell out. The tooth fairy just went in to put the dime under her pillow, only to discover a little hand waiting there, asleep but still waiting to catch the tooth fairy. This has been a good rest for John. They went fishing, and Mark's wrists are well enough to try golf. I expect John, his dad, and Mark will play golf at Lakeside. We are going to a swimming pool party in Shaker Heights, a heated pool, I imagine, I hope. Just before we left, Nan Gregory invited us to see the Rocky River Day fireworks from their beach next door to the park where they were set off. A glorious display, $1,600 worth of fireworks. Lots of boats in the water on Lake Erie to view it too, a lovely sight. The children have all enjoyed the miniature golf here and the jumping nets. We hope you can use the bathing cap. I got it in June, but delayed sending it until you got home. Tonight it would go with your bathing suit. Love, Ruth. Now we have a comment based on SFMC 67 from my father, John S. Ray. Dear Editor, I got a big charge out of a number of items in SFMC 67. Peter had the final okay and ear test was fine at the doctor. Red said, Peter, this calls for a celebration. He looked at Red quizzically and said, You mean we're going to have a cake with an ear on it? Peter, what a character. Ruth and I had a conference with Mark's history teacher, and he said Mark was probably the most capable and had the most ability of any student he's had. Wow. David Garrett with us in the Bahamas. I'll never forget that. He got up on top of the high hill while we were still getting off the boat when we first arrived. He was really a handful. The Grants were kind enough to leave us a fishing boat and captain for a couple days after they left, and we caught many, many fish. A wonderful experience. Red's miraculous flight up the coral cliff while escaping from the barracuda. I still cannot figure out how she did it. Wonderful SFMC. Thank you. Love, Dad. John S. Ray, Cleveland, Ohio. Well, that concludes today's presentation. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care. And I'll see you next time.